Welcome back to another episode of Love Saranghae with us, Peter and Andrea. Today we're talking about one of our favorite topics, Korea. Peter has just returned from a trip to South Korea, and while most people think of Korea as simply the birthplace of K-beauty, it's actually so much more than that. Korea is often years ahead when it comes to skincare innovation, wellness trends, beauty technology, and consumer behavior. In this episode, we're diving into what Peter saw on the ground, the products and ingredients everyone is talking about, the biggest trends emerging right now, and what North Americans can expect to see next. So, whether you're a skincare enthusiast, a K-beauty lover, or simply curious about what makes Korea one of the most innovative beauty markets in the world, this episode is for you. Are you ready, babe?
Let's talk about my home country. Yes, and I did partake in some excellent food, so we can talk about that as well. In fact, let's make sure we talk about that.
We always have to talk about food.
Yeah, I mean, Korea is great. So just to give a context to my to everybody who's listening, I usually go to Korea. Before the pandemic, we used to go twice a year. During the pandemic, obviously, we stopped, and then after the pandemic, we would try to go once a year. But we had some deaths in the family, and we've had some issues personally that have kind of stopped that from happening. So it's been not as frequent as I would have liked, but we're starting back again. Everything has kind of settled down. So this will be the first of second trip in Korea. And before I go on, I want to tell a quick funny story though. The last time I was in South Korea, we were 1 week away from shutting down the borders of South Korea right before the pandemic. So I remember I was sitting in a restaurant with my guys and everybody had masks on and they were all looking at each other real funny, like kind of like this, right? And if you can see the video, you know, they're basically looking at like who is there a Gestapo police or whatever it is. And we were like, what's going on?
I remember that.
Yeah. I was like, what's going on?
Forget that time.
And people were very nervous. In the city, and then we left Korea, and about 5 days later, they shut down the whole city. So
you just made it back.
I just made it back in time because I know people who got stuck, and they got stuck for months. So which is a very, very interesting story. Anyway, let's go on now. Different time.
Okay, well, let's talk about first, like, why did you go to Korea this time? Like, why do you go to Korea? What do you do there?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
what's so important about you being there?
There are two reasons why I go to Korea. And no, it's not because I want to go visit family, although I have a lot of family there. There are two reasons why we visit Korea.
That is not what we do.
One is that I meet with my suppliers. So we work with 5 of the largest Korean beauty, skincare, and cosmetics manufacturers in Korea. And I visit them about twice a year, or hoping to visit them twice a year, because in Korea, relationships do matter. Right?
Yes.
You know, we still exchange business cards in a very formal way. In North America, I haven't given out a business card in, you know, God knows how long, right? We all, what's your LinkedIn? What's your WhatsApp? But
you have a QR code.
Yeah. Or let's tap this to exchange contact info. But in Korea, we still have exchange business cards, and we still do it in a formal manner. So there's an etiquette to business that they appreciate. They don't expect, but they appreciate when I do that. And that appreciation can go a long way.
Yes.
The second reason why I go there, and it's just as important, is that I get to see very closely what is going on in the Korean skincare and the Korean beauty space right at the ground level. Because what we see here in North America is a very watered down version of what's going on in South Korea. The good and the bad, right? There's the good stuff that's going on there and the bad stuff that's going on there. And I get to see all of it, the rawness of South Korea in its most raw form. And usually time these visits with shows or trade shows. So this one was called Cosmo Beauty, and it was located in COEX in Gangnam area. And if you know Gangnam area, you know that it's probably the richest and the most modern of the Korean districts. And K-Beauty Expo happens in October, and that happens in Kintex, which is in a town called Goyang, which is about an hour away from the airport, but it's west of Seoul. Okay. Nothing happens. There's a couple of things I think that happen in Busan or in surrounding areas, but Seoul area is where everything happens. So that's the reason why we go.
So, okay. So I think it would be like the best thing to share right now would be to tell our listeners what was the most surprising thing about Korea going back this time?
The most surprising thing. Well, that's an interesting question.
Or was there anything surprising? Like,
Well, surprising is an interesting word, right? Because there was a lot of things that shocked me in terms of like the pure progress of the pace of progress. But it's not surprising in the sense that, of course, it's happening because that's always been the backbone of Korean technology and Korean skincare. They've always moved fast and they've always looked to set a trend. That's who they are. What shocked me, though, is the pace of innovation. So I know when I went to Cosmoprof in Hong Kong, they were just whispering PDRN, just whispering exosomes. There were whispers of peptides. There were whispers of, right? But this time around, it was literally all PDRN, all exosomes, all peptides.
It's almost like, are you crazy for not carrying like that? Like, you're so late.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also, the things I don't like about Korean skincare is that they are so trend driven. Damn the clinical trials. In vitro is enough. In vivo is not in vogue. Let's go full speed ahead and flood the market with all of these ingredients that sound great in a lab perspective, but maybe not so great in a human real world perspective. Yeah. That's something that I think Koreans could do better for sure. But
the other thing that surprised me, that what you told me when you came back, was the number of Korean skincare lines that launched.
Oh my God!
This year.
Yeah.
This year.
So just like life, there are births and deaths, right? And so what we've heard is that these venerable companies like Etude House, like Skin Food. I know Misha is having a tough time. There's a lot of brands that we grew up, Tony Moly, we grew up, Innisfree, we grew up with, Face Shop, that are having a really tough time right now. They're being basically dominated by this new second wave of Korean skincare. And what was the question again? Oh, yeah, that's right. And but what replaced them?
The stars jet lag.
I know. I just like the sound of my own voice. What replaced them was 80,000 brand new skincare brands coming out in Korea.
No, 80,000.
So here's the interesting part. Why are 80,000 entrepreneurs trying to, start a Korean skincare brand? Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is that unemployment rate in Korea is like sky high. It's somewhere in the 15 to 20%
in Korea?
range. Yeah. So as a young person, if you didn't go to one of the 5, what they call Sky universities, Seoul National, all that stuff, then your career outlook is bleak. So starting up a Korean skincare brand is pretty interesting. Second is that there is a lot of government support for K-beauty export. It's really designed so that we export, or Korea exports their beauty industry to other countries. And third, what every single brand that I talk to at Korean skincare brand I talk to in the show, 95% of all revenue or all units shipped are overseas, not domestic. So it's not Korean skincare as in.
So you guys know what that means? Let's break that down. It's like 90% of all Korean skincare brands made in Korea are not used by Koreans.
Yeah.
In Korea.
Yeah. They're made for other markets.
Out.
Yeah. So that's it. Like, Beauty of Joseon is not something that Koreans actually look for or talk about. Now they're known because they're so talked about in the ether sphere, I guess. But nobody knew who they were up until pretty recently. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Domestic market is also very saturated, but even now the international market, I mean, it's just moving so fast. So fast. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about what everybody really wants to know. It's like,
sure.
What are skincare trends that are actually dominating Korea right now? We hear about glass skin all the time. But what are Korean consumers genuinely excited about today? What ingredients, products, or treatments Are people really lining up for over there?
So I can tell you what I know from looking at the experience from the show, but also from talking to the Koreans that, my representatives at the companies that we work with, but also in consumers as well. There's a bit of a divergence, right? So at the show, the most popular ingredients, and I think about 70% of all K-beauty brands and manufacturers were touting PDRN. Okay, so both salmon PDRN derived from salmon sperm, or plant-based PDRN, like rice PDRN, right? Yeah. So it's either vegan or salmon, and vegan seems to be gaining ground in terms of momentum because that's what the international market wants. They want to sell a plant-based PDRN. Whether it works or not, I don't think that's a concern. I think it's simply plant-based PDRN is what people are looking for, so they are creating it. The other thing is exosomes. Exosomes were 2. Peptides were 3. So high concentration of active peptides like matrixyl 3000, acetyl-polypeptide 121, copper-pride peptide, pentapeptide, palmitol pentapeptide 5. They were all in high concentration of the medical brand skincare. And then there's a bit of a divergence where you still see some brands touting Cica, which is Centella asiatica, ginseng, aloe. So really about skin barrier and skin healing. That's still a thing in Korean beauty. What's really interesting is if you talk to the people, if you talk to the consumers, if you talk to the actual the representative manufacturers who live in Korea, they still think they still like gravitate towards skin longevity and barrier repair. They still go after the Centella asiaticas, the ginseng, the calming stuff because they've been doing this for so long. They're still a little bit they're a little bit more hesitant of the newest PDRN formulas or exosome formulas because the companies that made it very popular, like Medicube, Biodance, they don't exist, right? They're not selling in the domestically. So they're kind of like, I don't know. PDRN itself, salmon PDRN, was first made very popular by a company called Regerin. Regerin in Korea is very popular in the medical circles. In fact, Andrea will tell you that I had a medical spa appointment in Korea the first day I got there, and I got the Regerin treatment. So I had
Let's shout out the name of that clinic.
Dami, the Dami Clinic, right?
DAMI.
M-I. Dami Clinic.
Dami Clinic.
Yeah, and so the Dami.
They did a good job.
They did a great job.
20-something after that.
Yeah, so like long story short, I received a microneedling treatment, and then they flooded my face with salmon PDRN. First time, salmon PDRN, and it was pretty cool. It didn't hurt. I thought the image was expensive, but it didn't hurt, and it was pretty quick. Now, the interesting thing about PDRN is that the molecules are about 100 times too large or larger than what the molecule size is allowable for permeability.
To penetrate the skin.
Yeah, so the PDR molecules are actually quite large. There are things being done right now, hopefully, to get, to reduce the molecular weight and get it past, etc. But originally, PDRN was supposed to be introduced after a microneedling or injection. Regerin invented it for clinical purposes, not for topical, not for general use. So the Koreans know this, and the Koreans are asking, well, I mean, if this was made for microneedling and injection, why are we putting it on just topically? So they're asking that question. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. Not that we're not going to take a look at PDRN. I will take a look at PDRN because it's so popular, and it does have some interesting science. We are looking at low molecular weight PDRN. That's a very new technology coming out right now, pioneered by Regerin again. But there are opportunities to jump on this and to productize it. So we're working on that right now. But
okay, I want to back up for a second. When you talked about what Koreans are really focusing on, when we talked about skin barrier support, repair, and we talked about skin longevity.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that what we have here in North America and what Koreans are actually using in Korea is different because our skin is different. And so what we might use here might need to be different simply because we don't take care of our skin the way Koreans do from such a young age. Like most of our customers are older and they're starting to take better care of their skin, I would say in the past maybe 5 years. But prior to that, and I'm speaking of myself too, when I was younger, I used to go and tan in the sun. And I didn't wear SPF. I wanted to get that glow, that tan glow. In fact, when I was a teenager, I used to put baby oil on my face to get that tan. That was unheard of in Korea.
Yeah.
So my skin and what I need to do to repair my skin is going to be different than someone in Korea who's been taking care of their skin all their life.
I think you're right there. I think a lot of our North American customers, from talking to them and analyzing their skin, it depends really on genetics, skin type, skin stage, and your skin concern, right? Koreans don't deal too much with hyperpigmentation because they're out of the sun most of the time.
Yeah.
And here in North America, hyperpigmentation is one of probably the most common skin concern that we are asked to address. My personal opinion on this is that I think the North American skincare, I think if you really want efficacy and not the viral stuff that's going on in TikTok and Instagram right now, number one priority is to heal your skin barrier. Just get into a skincare routine and go toward the basic 5 steps. You cleanse, you tone, you add a couple of correctives, you heal, and then you moisturize and seal. If you do that correctly and just consistently, that's more than 50%. Right? And then if you want to take a look at actives or something to treat your skin, I mean, look, for the last 50 years, we know that chemically, the one component, the one compound that can penetrate the dermis layer into the fibroblasts to actually stimulate collagen production is a retinoid. Retinol and retinoic acid have been around since 1954 and is well proven clinically in vitro and in vivo, which means in a lab environment and also in human skin. It's well known. So
in vitro is in lab environment, in vivo is in skin.
In human skin.
Skin.
Yeah, and there's a reason why that's important, right? Because in human skin, we have something called an immune response, right? So if we apply something to our skin in the lab environment, it simply reacts in a very sterile environment. In human skin, our skin or our skin cells will react to it in an immune environment. Oh, this is poison. We're going to do something about it. Oh, this is healing. We're going to do something about it. So you can't replicate that in vitro. And also in vitro, you don't have to go past the dermis layer. You just simply inject a peptide or whatever it is into a pipette and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I know we know for a fact that retinoids do this, and yet retinoids have had a bad connotation or a bad reputation. It's no longer new, in fact, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. In fact, after my trip from Korea, I am now doubling my efforts to see if I can incorporate our retinol into my skincare routine because honestly, the science is solid.
Yeah.
So that's what I see from my North American customers. Just stick to the basics, consistency. Go a little higher with the actives over time. I don't think you need to jump on a lot of these fads that are coming up. I don't think it's that big a deal.
That goes to my next question: is what trends do you think will eventually make their way to North America? Like, think of when you're walking through the stores in Korea and you're going to the different labs and pharmacies and all the places you visited there. What do you see that makes you think like North America is going to be obsessed with this in 2 years?
So if North America follows the same trend line as Korea, it's going to go even more clinical and medical, right? So it's going to go what I call pharmaceutical grade stuff. Because a lot of Koreans don't even go to the skincare. They don't go. Olive Young is the most popular skincare store in Korea, but the popularity is increasing not in Olive Young, but in the pharmacies. the pharmacies in Korea are starting to become more popular with actually people who are looking for skincare hacks, right? They're like,
why?
What can we do?
Why is a pharmacy?
Because that's where a lot of the over-the-counter drugs are located, right? So PDRN, salmon PDRN, was first introduced in a pharmacy. Then it became popular in regular skincare circles.
Is it in different concentrations? So is the pharmacy higher concentration?
It is. So, for example, alpha-arbutin. No, sorry, hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is a controlled substance here in North America. In Korea, a pharmacy can carry up to a 4% concentration of hydroquinone.
Ooh,
yeah,
too high.
That's pretty high. I would not recommend anyone without the guidance of a professional to use 4% hydroquinone because there are some negative side effects. But in Korea, it seems to be something that they're okay with.
Yeah.
And then maybe because they don't have a lot of hyperpigmentation, people don't use it that often or that long. Who knows? PDRN.
Yeah, that's true too.
PDRN.
Going back to what I was saying earlier, that Koreans just have different skin than we do because of how they took care of it.
So if you're taking a look at trends, I think it's going to go more and more medical and more clinical based, which is what we were seeing about. I remember about 4 years ago when we were developing our correctives. Korea basically was just starting to embrace correctives themselves. Vitamin C also all of a sudden became hot. There was no vitamin C when I went to Korea 10 years ago. There was, retinol was not something they talked about 10 years ago, but they actually bypassed that stage. They introduced vitamin C, niacinamide, retinol, azelaic. Well, azelaic is controlled. All of these great ingredients, and then they leapfrogged it to PDRN, exosome peptides. And the question is, will they leapfrog again in a year? So that's what I think is going to happen. And I'm not sure what will what will be the next generation. There's 3 that are trending right now. One is growth factor, GF+, NMN, and NAD. Don't ask me to pronounce it. It's a nicotinamide, but it's very similar in what they do. Again, though, the science is that the molecules are too thick to penetrate. Yeah. But again, we'll see what this.
But they're also introducing like the NAD in a shot. So there's other ways of getting it to get the same effect.
Shot as in what, ingestible?
Yeah.
Like drinking?
No, ingestible. Oh no, I thought you said injectable. Ingestible I have not seen, but I've seen like you can get an NAD booster. You can get an IV of NAD.
Yeah. So the thing about so that's a really great point you're making. So when you inject something like an NAD, growth factor, or NMN, these molecules are not programmed to seek out skin cells. They're not like, oh, I'm here to make my skin cells look young. They will go to whatever your body needs and go to that place. If your body needs bone healing, it'll go to that place. Yeah. If your body needs a gut health, whatever it is, you'll go to that place. So it's almost like, you having great diet. If you eat good food, you will generally have healthier outlook, right? But not necessarily targeting the skin, right? So that's what's going to happen.
It might be a byproduct, but it's not necessarily the end game.
Exactly.
The other thing you need to keep in mind with these types of nouveau ingredients is the long-term benefits as well as the long-term consequences of using such ingredients that I believe, don't have enough research backing it.
They have no research backing it.
There's a lot of studies coming out now with NAD where they have there's cancer causing, but they're not sure. So they're manipulating it in different ways to see whether that's actually the NAD or if it's something else. So,
well, again, I mean, what you do in a test tube is different than human skin.
For sure.
Right?
For sure. And we will see over the years what it actually can do. But anyway, I think one of the other trends that I think North America is going to start adapting or taking on from Korea is the skin-first makeup. So we wear a lot of makeup here in North America compared to Korea, from what I'm noticing. And what is what they pride themselves on is beautiful skin. So when you have really nice skin, you don't need as much makeup.
Yeah.
And that's sort of my philosophy too, is that I want to spend the money on skin health and make my skin look as good as I can so that I don't need to put all that foundation and cover up and concealer and whatever else it is. And that's another trend that I think we're going towards that is going to be adopted from Korea.
Yeah, I think so too. There's something called skip care in Korea, which is basically skip care.
Oh.
Yeah, so what that means is you're basically, when K-beauty first hit the marketplace in North America, it was the big 10-step skincare routine, and Koreans are saying, we no longer want to do a 10-step, we want to do a 3-step, so combine these products into a 3. We'll minimize and see how that works. So that's a trend. I do think that devices are going to be a trend.
That's another one, yes.
Yeah, I do
too.
I believe that, look, there's only 3 mechanisms of truly stimulating collagen production in your skin. One is chemical, like retinol. 2 is physical, like microneedling. Like you can slap somebody in the face, and what happens is your skin gets bruised or damaged, and it repairs itself. In that moment, more collagen is produced. And 3rd is thermal. So by heat and by electricity, all these stimulations, right? So I think devices like microneedling will become a staple. There's dangers with them, but I just think that there's only one way to go, which is up, right? I think it'll be something that North Americans will start trying.
So if somebody was going to Korea and they have one day to spend in Korea, what would you tell them to do? What would you encourage them to do or experience or see? What stores should they visit? Where would you send them?
Well, I mean, that's. I think you're asking the wrong person.
I probably am, but let's see, you're there.
Because I would tell them go to Bukhansan, go to the traditional markets and try some food. I would tell them to go hiking and go down to Busan and check out the mountains. I would tell you to go to small towns outside of Seoul, because some of the small towns still look like they're in the 1970s. They haven't moved forward. They look nothing like Seoul. And that's a pretty cool thing to do as well. Yeah, when you roll in for a cup of coffee, they look at you like, who these strangers
Who's this
are coming.
Giant monster who looks sort of Asian, but not very fully Asian.
But if I put my hat on of somebody who likes to explore a city, I think number one would be, I would urge you to go visit the Hyundai. Okay, that's a department store.
Oh.
It's quite expensive. It's kind of like a Saks Fifth, but they have a wicked food court. Like their food hall is unbelievable.
They're gonna go to Saks Fifth Avenue for food court.
Oh my God, it's not like North America. The food halls are exceptional because Koreans value food.
Yeah.
Like food is in the culture, right? So exceptional. And then there's the Hyundai in Seoul, right downtown Seoul. The atrium up top is gorgeous. It's like this 3-floor atrium that overlooks each other. You should visit it. It's beautiful.
Okay.
And I saw a lot of families there. So they have a lot of services for like kids and.
Okay, but let's talk about skincare. Where would you send them to go for skincare?
I'm going to that. So the number one would be
the good stuff.
The Olive Young.
Okay.
Right. You go to the Olive Young, and that will be like they beat out Sephora in Korea.
Oh,
so Olive
interesting.
Young. Yeah. So that would be the first place to start. Olive Young is a Sephora-like beauty store that CJ owns, like the largest conglomerate in Korea, and they have basically they are the only real location for Korean skincare or any skincare in Korea.
And so it's like a
popular.
Sephora but in Korea.
Yeah.
So it's like they have all different brands, and you can go in and try and talk to someone.
If you're expecting like Sephora oatness, like the elevated look, that's not what Olive Young is. Olive Young looks almost like department store-ish.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not the best looking place, but it's got a lot of stuff and people love it. Okay. So that's it. I would visit the pharmacies. The pharmacies are getting hot.
I was going to ask you about that.
I think you got to know what to look for though. Because the pharmacists don't care or don't want to sell you skincare products. They're going to be like, what's your problem?
Do they speak English? Does anyone speak English?
Olive Young, yes. Pharmacy, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Do you get like personalized beauty consultations?
You do at the clinics.
Okay.
But also be careful because my service was $750 US. I am sure that the personalized beauty consultation was meant to sell as much product and service as possible.
That makes sense. So what did you do when you went to the clinic? You went, they looked at your skin. Like did they use any technology or anything?
Yeah. So the interesting about Korean medical spas is that it needs to be tied to a dermatologist. So the person who owns the location or the spa is a doctor, right? A medical professional, a doctor. So the first consultation is with the doctor, and the doctor looks at me with his magnifying glass and some tools and says, "This is what you need." And then he writes it down on a piece of paper, like a prescription, and says, "This is what you need. Yes or no?" I said, "Okay." And then they'll go and get it done.
When in Korea.
The steps of the medical spa are very similar to what we do, which is cleanse, exfoliate, correct, heal, and then moisturize and seal. It's in that step, but within like 11 steps. So, what we do is what we do in Saranghae here is exactly what the spas do, just in more in-depth steps. Like the exfoliation step was 15 minutes long, a 3-phase step. They would come back and exfoliate 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's how involved it is.
Exfoliation is so important, and people often skip that step.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that it's actually standing between your beautiful skin or not.
Well, it's a balance.
Yeah.
Too little exfoliation basically builds, keratins and dead skin on top, which prevents your products from actually absorbing. Too much exfoliation will damage your skin barrier.
Yeah,
you don't want to do
right.
that either. The devices that we used were microneedling with a PDRN serum and an ultra frequency sound device that basically drove sound into past my dermis layer with this kind of gel. So that was interesting as well. Yeah, cool. That was interesting as well.
Cool. Okay, so I guess the places you want to go if you have one day in Korea would be do a treatment if you can afford to. Make sure you know the pricing going in before you say yes to anything. Go to a spa or a med spa and do a treatment there. Get your skin analyzed and then figure out whether or not you want to do what they prescribe for you. Another place to check out would be Olive Young. It is the epicenter of K-beauty. And go to a pharmacy, but with caution because they are not designed to sell you skincare. You go in and have a conversation. So it might be helpful if you have someone to translate for you.
Yeah.
Or go to a pharmacy where they can communicate in English if you don't speak Korean. Okay.
Yeah.
My last question for you is, what is Korea teaching us about aging differently? I think this is really important to drive home the difference between how we age here, what are we taught here in North America, and how it differs from what Korean young people are being taught about aging.
Okay, so I think the best example is what I saw in the streets of Seoul. Out of every 10 people, I would say 4, maybe even 5 young people had these weird outfits where they would completely cover their face. They looked like they were going to rob a bank because they had just 2 eyes and a mouth and a nose. Oh, wow. And their entire body was covered in these long pieces, like sleeves, right? And it was 28 degrees Celsius outside. Wow. What does that mean? Well, why are they doing this? And also their umbrellas, they don't talk about, rain. Like here's an umbrella for the rain. It's umbrella for the sun.
Yeah.
So even at a very young age, Koreans are taught to avoid the sun. It is something that they are ingrained in their daily life, which also means that their skincare routine and what they do to look beautiful or look, to take care of the skin is something that's ingrained consistently in their daily life. If you do this from a very young age, of course, you're going to see incredible skin when you're 35 or 40 because you've been doing it for 20 years. You've been out of the sun for 20 years instead of tanning with a tanning lotion. North America tends to look at skincare as a cure. It's like, I have a problem. Can you fix it? Right? Koreans don't look at it that way. Yeah. Koreans look at this as a practice, like exercise. I go running I try to go running every single morning. These days, I seem to be not, but it's not because I want to. It's not because I want to be. I want to get somewhere. It's because I do this as a practice, something that's part of my life that's good for me and that I enjoy. This is what skincare is in Korea, right? And I think trying different ingredients, trying different techniques, visiting spas, going through your olive young, I think this is part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in what they do every single day.
I think skincare is a part of that, the whole person health belief rather than just appearance. So of course they want to look young and they want to look a certain way, but I think it's also the total well-being and how they take care of themselves as a practice. And skincare is part of that.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one.
Really?
Yeah, I think in Korea, you have to submit a resume. If you want a job, you submit a resume with a picture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. In Korea, if you are considered to be beautiful, attractive, your future is far brighter than someone who is considered to be not attractive.
Wouldn't that be true everywhere, though, I guess?
But it's more overt.
It's more that it's not as hidden. I think
it's more overt.
If you show up to the interview and look a certain way and talk a certain way, you'll likely get a higher paying job or a better chance of getting the job, but they don't make it as obvious as maybe.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, so it's right from the get-go. It's like, I want to see what you look like because we're only hiring people that look like what we want, what we think you should look like, and that's what it comes down to. So it's directly tied to your success.
So then it is appearance. It is
really
about,
is appearance.
It's the longevity and the wellness and well-being of the skin, but for the end goal of beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
External beauty.
Exactly. It's ingrained in our culture.
All right. Well, do you want to do these spitfire questions?
Yeah, why not? It looks fun.
Okay. All right. So we have these bonus rapid fire questions that Peter's going to say one word. We're not going to explain it, but if you do have questions about why he chose one or the other, leave us a comment below and we'll answer it in another episode. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
One ingredient everyone is talking about in Korea, PDRN or exosome?
PDRN. PDRN.
One product category exploding in Korea, cooling skincare or regenerative serum?
Regenerative serums.
One thing North America gets wrong about K-beauty. Thinking it's about 10-step routines instead of skin health.
Thinking it's about 10-step routines.
Okay. One Korean wellness habit you'd like more North Americans to adopt. Daily self-care rituals or prevention?
Aren't they the same? Prevention.
One question, one answer. One trend you're watching closely for Saranghae Orora. You can have more than one word for this.
Ingredients that help deliver large-size molecules like PDRN past the dermis layer into the fibroblast. So there are two types of technologies I'm looking for. One is a carrier technology. You can wrap these molecules into a lipid form because our dermis is oil soluble, not water soluble. So if you wrap it into a lipid fat soluble device, it can go past the dermis layer. That's one. Second is low molecularization. Like you did with hydrolyzation in collagen and amino acids, you could theoretically take PDRN and cut them up into small size molecules, which could hopefully go past the dermis layer. If you can combine the two and stabilize them, that could be the holy grail.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any last words about Korea that you want to share before we close off?
I will say this. Korea used to be, Korea for me was a love-hate relationship. I love going there. Obviously, it's my country. It feels like I'm home when I'm there. The food's amazing. But getting there and coming back is always a bitch. It takes me a week to recover when I come back from there. But this time around, I thought it was much easier. I was going to
say, this time you did a lot better. So I don't know if it was the food or the healthier.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to go again in the future. I enjoyed it. I do wish that I can take my family there because I think my wife and my kids will love learning about Korea. And I do wish that eventually or pretty soon I get out of Seoul and go back to the countryside or go to Busan and some other cities that I haven't seen yet, because I've seen Seoul now 20 times and I don't think I want to explore Korea a little bit more.
I would love to see a family too.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for spending part of the day with us. If you'd like to learn more about Korean skincare and discover products designed to support healthy, vibrant skin at any age and stage, please visit us at Live Saranghae and at Orora Skin on Instagram to learn more. And we will leave our website below as well. Until next time, remember that skincare isn't vanity. It can be, but it shouldn't be. It's actually daily self-care. Take care of your skin, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
Bye.